Have you ever felt torn between two worlds? One calling you inward, urging silence, surrender, and soul-searching, and the other urging productivity, logic, systems, and success? It's a tension many of us live with daily. The spiritual versus the secular. The need for meaning in a world built on materialism. The longing for connection in a society addicted to individualism. But what if I told you that one man, a 13th century mystic poet, might hold the key to reconciling this divide? That man is Jalaluddin Rumi, and his voice, though centuries old, speaks with astonishing clarity to our modern dilemmas. Today we ask, can Rumi, through the heart of Sufism, help us bridge the gap between the sacred and the secular? Welcome to the unfolding journey, where we explore the timeless teachings, philosophies, and spiritual insights that continue to shape our world. From ancient mystics to modern thinkers, we trace the threads that connect past wisdom to present challenges. If you're someone who values both the mystical and the rational, both inner depth and outward progress, then you're in the right place. Let's begin. Secularism is often misunderstood. It doesn't necessarily mean anti-religious or atheistic. At its core, secularism is the principle of separating religious institutions from state governance. It promotes reason, science, individual freedoms, and a humanistic worldview. Sufism, on the other hand, is the mystical heart of Islam. It's not a sect, but a spiritual path, emphasizing love, union with the divine, inner transformation, and the stripping away of the ego to uncover the true self. While secularism values external progress and rational inquiry, Sufism values inner depth, emotional wisdom, and spiritual surrender. At first glance, they seem irreconcilable, but maybe that's because we're looking at them with binary eyes. For centuries, societies have treated the sacred and the secular as opposing forces. Religion belonged to the temple, the church, the mosque. Reason belonged to the university, the parliament, the lab. But life isn't so easily divided. People crave meaning whether they believe in God or not. People meditate not just in monasteries, but in office break rooms. People seek transcendence not just in rituals, but in music, love, art, and community. Rumi, in his infinite poetic brilliance, understood this duality. He didn't just speak to Muslims or mystics. He spoke to humans. His message transcends religion without rejecting it. And that's what makes him unique. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there's a field. I'll meet you there. This is perhaps Rumi's most quoted line in the West. But why does it resonate so much with secular, even non-religious audiences? Because Rumi's language bypasses dogma and goes straight to the heart. His spirituality isn't based on rules, but on relationship. A deep, passionate relationship with the divine, the beloved, the eternal. He doesn't demand belief. He invites experience. His metaphors, the burning candle, the whirling dervish, the broken heart, the longing reed flute, these are not exclusive to Islam. They are human, and that is why he continues to be one of the best-selling poets in the West. Rumi's poetry constantly refers to the beloved, a figure that represents God, but also much more. In a religious context, the beloved is clearly divine. But in a secular or even psychological reading, the beloved becomes a symbol for the source of all beauty, mystery, and connection. It can be read as the higher self, the collective unconscious, the numinous experience, or the archetype of love. In a world where traditional religious language often alienates, Rumi's metaphors offer a bridge. His language feels spiritual, but is open-ended enough to invite people of many worldviews. One of Sufism's core tenets is fana, the annihilation of the ego. It's the process of losing the false self to discover the true self in union with God. Modern secular psychology often mirrors this, with concepts like ego death, mindfulness, shadow work, and flow state. Even in therapy, there's an effort to confront and dissolve the false narratives we've built around ourselves. So perhaps, unknowingly, the secular world is stumbling into mystical territory, trying to heal the self by forgetting the self. And who better to guide that journey than Rumi? The famous whirling of the Mevlevi order, the dervishes who spin in meditative dance, is more than performance. It is symbolic of cosmic unity, balance, and surrender. One hand raised to the heavens, one turned toward the earth. The dervish becomes a bridge between the spiritual and the material. What a metaphor for what we're seeking today. A way to live in the world without being consumed by it. A way to remain rooted in the soul while participating fully in society. Sufism doesn't ask you to retreat from life. It asks you to see life as a mirror of the divine. Rumi was deeply Islamic, and yet his words transcend religion. He spoke the language of love, longing, union, and truth. He used Islamic imagery and Quranic wisdom, but his metaphors were universal. He is studied by Christians, Jews, Buddhists, atheists, psychologists, and scientists. Why? Because his message is not about dogma, but awakening. Not about being right, but being alive. Rumi didn't preach, he invited. He didn't divide, he united. And in a world fractured by ideology, that is revolutionary. Can Rumi bridge the gap between Sufism and secularism? He already has. You'll find his quotes on Instagram captions and in doctoral dissertations, in yoga studios and Friday khutbahs, in love letters and philosophical debates. Rumi is the rare voice who doesn't ask you to pick a side. He invites you to dance between them, to hold both paradoxes, reason and feeling, head and heart, the secular and the sacred, and to discover that perhaps they were never separate after all. The true divide isn't between secularism and spirituality. It's between shallow living and awakened living. And Rumi helps us awaken. In this chaotic, hyper-rational, hyper-distracted world, we are all, in some way, seekers. Some seek in mosques, some in art galleries, some in books, lovers, silence, or sound. But all of us, whether we name it God, love, the universe, or meaning, are reaching for something deeper. And if we listen closely across the noise of the modern world, we might still hear the reed flute calling, whispering Rumi's timeless invitation. Don't get lost in your pain. Know that one day your pain will become your cure. So yes, Rumi can bridge the gap, not by choosing sides, but by reminding us that we are whole. If this resonated with you, if you believe that ancient wisdom can still guide modern life, then this is just the beginning. Subscribe to the unfolding journey for more explorations into timeless wisdom, mystical insights, and the voices that bridge worlds. Together, let's keep unfolding.